All right, guys, I'm back, and I'm not alone. Of course, I've got our guest of the evening, Mr. Al Snow. Al, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Great. We've been talking a lot about the ongoings of TNA there, and traveling and finally getting out on the road once again. What's it like? Were you there in the arena for this past week when they traveled to North Carolina?
Yeah, I was there for the TV in Fayetteville, and it was a great experience. It was really a terrific show.
Yeah, and I don't want to say surprised, but it was a little bit of a shock just how it seemed like the crowd was really into it, more so than maybe normally at the Impact Zone.
It was definitely a great atmosphere, and the people really seemed to be, had a lot of energy, and I think that really helped. As always, the audience's feedback helps contribute to the performance of the talent, and I think it all went really well.
Absolutely, and you seem to be very busy nowadays from I guess traveling on the road there, but you also got your side things going on as well as multiple movies.
Yeah, I've started an acting career, and hopefully this summer, if everything goes according to schedule, I'll have several movies back coming out almost all at once. Kind of happenstance that'll be the case, but the Agua Caliente, a movie called Overtime, and a movie that'll be in theaters nationwide called Witches of Oz. It's a remake of The Wizard of Oz.
Interesting. And what will your role be in that movie?
In The Witches of Oz, I'm the Gnome King, which they use a lot of the characters from the original Frank L. Baum book series, and the Gnome King was one of the characters in that in the book that you don't see in the original Wizard of Oz.
Nice. Now, transitioning a little bit from your on-screen back to your new role in TNA there, what's the biggest difference from going, from the main card here to the backstage and assisting on that aspect?
You're responsible for, more than just one match or your match. You're now responsible for, several matches, and trying to make sure that the business that's set out in those matches gets accomplished. And if it's not directly in your hands, it's in the talent's hands. You're there as a communicator and a facilitator is, what you're there to do, and give advice and give direction, and that best help them achieve the business that needs to be done. Absolutely.
And we were talking a little bit, debating there, just going back and forth of the jump from the title hand of Sting. Could you comment any on the reasoning or the thoughts behind putting Sting over and his return?
No, I can't, simply because it would be complete speculation. I don't know. I don't write the show. So I don't know where they're going with it, what purpose it serves, what they're hoping to achieve by doing it. It would be complete speculation on my part. I can tell you that, if they're wanting to get Sting over, that's the right move to do, is to bring him out and, have him win the title and have him make an impact, and then that sets up whatever heel might be that they're building towards to work with Sting, to put heat on that heel, because you can't get heat on a heel if the babyface that you're going to have them programmed with does not get over.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense to me. And go ahead, Chang.
Well, I was going to ask. Yeah. I was going to ask that just your thoughts, Al, on, I don't know if you heard prior to coming on, we were having the discussion, and, the three of us, you have two of the hosts, Darius and Demetrius, who, aren't the biggest of TNA fans right now based on what they're seeing, and then I'm I guess I see the silver lining. What are your thoughts when you hear these, the negative talks from folks about TNA? Does that affect anybody at all back there, or you still guys just going along, trying to put out what you guys are doing?
Well, I'm sure it affects them in some direction, but you have to make a decision to choose a direction, and then you've got to have the faith to stick with it. It's like steering a really, really big ship. You can't just make turns on a dime, and you can't just make decisions based on just one or two people's opinions, or even 1 or 2,000 people's opinions. When you're trying to appeal to millions of people, and you've got to kind of pick that direction and stick with it, because ultimately you've got the vision. You know where you're going, and what may not make sense, or what may somebody else outside of it may not like at this moment. 6 months from now, it might all fall to place. All the pieces of the puzzle might fit together, and you might go, that's fantastic. Now I get it. I completely understand. Where if they just go on the whim of what everybody, I don't like that, and then they change their vision, you may never actually get to see the picture that they were shooting for.
Yeah, and with that being said, you've been to ECW, Smoky Mountain, WWE, and now TNA. You've been in various different organizations. Do you feel or think that maybe TNA gets an unfair stick where WWE's been doing this, for 50, 60 years, whatever it is? TNA is, they're relatively new, less than 10 years old.
They're very new. Even in a regular business environment, the general rule of thumb is that a normal business is not, just a Bob's Auto Care or Jed's, flea circus is not going to make money for the first 5 years. Well, they've only been in business for 8, where WWE's had 3 generations of McMahons, 4 now, generations of McMahons to get experience, refine an approach, and get an understanding of what it is they're doing and how.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Now, Al, I'm sorry, Darius, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to really quick shift back to the this past Thursday's Fayetteville show. Like you said, the crowd was really into it. It came over really well on television. With that being said, are there any plans to maybe do more impacts on the road? Are you guys strictly going to, stick to the impact zone? Are there any talks about maybe doing something else like this in the near future?
As far as I know, there is, but where and when, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But I know that they were very pleased with how everything went, and I think that they are looking to do more on the road, when and where they can. But at this time, I have no idea.
And you personally, you seem to mold it into that agent role. I see that you went back to Ohio Valley to do, I guess, an advanced class there. Is training and becoming an agent, is it anywhere close in the gratification of going out there and doing it yourself?
Sure, yeah. I mean, when I was running the developmental program for WWE in Ohio Valley, which is really, in essence, what I'm going to be teaching anybody who comes to the classes that I'm now going to hold in Ohio Valley, I'm basically going to teach them the same thing as what I was teaching the developmental talent and the same skills. It was very rewarding. You know, I was writing and producing the TV there to watch the talent evolve and get better and be able to, watch the, out of the talent's performance, watch the crowd build, attendance go up, house show activity rise, frequency of house shows, live events increased. All of that stuff was directly related to the talent's performance, and the talent's performance was directly related to my teaching them in their direction, their understanding of what it was that I was trying to get across. And it was very, it's very satisfying to see them go, not only succeed in Ohio Valley, but then to go on out into WWE or anywhere else and have success. It's very rewarding.
And did teaching come natural to you? Because, I don't know how many of the wrestling fans know, but, I'm sure a lot do. They're pretty smart. But you even taught Dan Severn the ropes to get in, I guess, and he went on to become one of the longest reigning NWA champions.
Yeah, and I also worked with Dan prior to his first UFC fight. It kind of came naturally, but it was simply because I a long time ago stopped pointing the finger at everybody else and started realizing my own mistakes that I made, and I basically don't try to teach people based on what I know. I try to teach people based on my experience, both good and bad. There are plenty of people that probably know more about wrestling than I do, or about the wrestling business. I certainly don't know everything. I still, to this day, go out there, and every time I perform, I learn something. But the one thing that I have is 29 years of experience, not just working for WWE and WWF and TNA and ECW and Smoky Mountain, but for a host of others.
And hit the ropes.
Hey, Al. Great to hear you on HGR, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Two quick questions for you. First question, can you comment on your experience when you were wrestling in Japan? Talk about the fans and the elevation and the level of respect for the sport over there, first off.
I loved going to Japan. I think it's a tremendous country, and the fans have a completely different level of respect for wrestling over there. But that relates a lot why they have the respect is because of the fact that they have a physical relationship with what happens in the ring, unlike the North American fans. The national sport there is judo, so therefore they have a better understanding of what physically is happening in the ring, so they have a different appreciation as opposed to the national sport here is baseball. And so what physically happens in the ring, very few fans actually have a connection to.
Okay, and second question is, I wonder if you could comment. I personally see the wrestling industry now like the newspaper industry was. You've got the top company at the top of the pyramid. You've got thousands upon thousands of independent wrestlers at the bottom. I think through the internet and shows like HGR and Blog Talk and YouTube, I think the playing field is leveling. I don't know if you could comment about how do you see the future of independent wrestling, and do you see things kind of evening out between this big top dog at the top and all these thousands of hardcore independent wrestlers at the bottom level?
I don't know quite what your question was, but I think in general it was about what the future of the business was.
It's all good, man. You can talk about Pepper, or you can talk about your dog getting pulled from Walmart. That's a good story too.
Well, I think the future of the wrestling business is there's a lot of potential there because there's more physical talent and athletic ability in the wrestling business now than there's ever been in the history of the wrestling business, period, ever. Bad thing is, though, that the actual art of professional wrestling is just slowly devolving and being lost by the talent that are performing it. And that's what's going to lead to the demise of the wrestling business more than anything else. The wrestling business has been and always will be the wrestler's business because they're the product. And unfortunately, the very art of that product is being lost. And as a result, that's why you see the decline in the wrestling business, to where there's only one major company. There's one major company, which is WWE. Then you've got a secondary company, and then you've got, literally just not even really companies. Just, you've got Ring of Honor, I guess, is another step below TNA, and then it just continues to digress, further down from there. That's because you have tons and tons of wrestlers in the business nowadays, and very, 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 very few actual workers. And if we can get the talent back on the right track and get them back with the proper understanding of what the real art of what they're trying to do out there is, I think that you could see a state of affairs within the wrestling business, much like any other business. You've got Walmart, in the retail, that's at the top. That's like the WWE of retail. And then, you've got plenty of others like, that go down from there. Sears, JCPenney's, they each have their own little niche, and they each have their own share of the market. And that could happen in the wrestling business a lot more so if there were enough actual marketable talent out there that could be used. And then the wrestling WWE would be so much more benefited by it too, because they're going to need.
But wrestling is all media based. Wrestling is all media based.
What's that?
I said wrestling is all media based. I think. I don't think you can compare Walmart to WWE.
I'm making a simple comparison is all I'm doing. Wrestling is media based. Is wrestling is talent based. You don't have talent, then you can have every bit of media in the world, and it ain't going to amount to anything. You need to have the talent, and the talent need to have the understanding of what they're doing, so that they can then be the product that you can sell. Unfortunately, the talent these days don't have the understanding of what they're supposed to be doing, and as a result, you don't have the proper product. If you don't have the proper product, you don't have as much of a mass appeal as you could possibly have.
All right. Cool, man. I really respect your career, man. You're awesome. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Don, thanks for calling in. And we have Megan now on the line. You're on the line with Al Snow. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Hi, Al. I followed your career since you were back in the WWE. Really a big fan of you and the head gimmick. It was adorable. I just want to ask, since you were a Tough Enough trainer back, for seasons 1 through 3, what do you think of the new season coming up?
Hi, I'm thrilled. I hope that it does, very well. I wish them all the success in the world. I think that Tough Enough, when I was lucky enough to be a part of it, and I think Tough Enough now is a tremendous infomercial for the professional wrestling business. I think it's a great vehicle to scout new talent. I think it's a great vehicle to build new talent into possible attractions and stars. I think that it's a great vehicle to attract a new audience to wrestling and to expose wrestling to a new audience. Because in my experience when I was involved in Tough Enough, I can't tell you how many times people would, and still to this day, people would come up and go, I never watched wrestling, but I watched Tough Enough all the time. Or I never watched wrestling before, and then I got hooked on Tough Enough, and now I watch wrestling all the time. Or my wife hated wrestling until she watched Tough Enough, and now she watches wrestling with me. I think it was just such a great vehicle, and I think it's proved itself out by the fact that Ultimate UFC and Dana White has openly admitted that UFC success can be directly tracked back to a complete ripoff of Tough Enough, which was Ultimate Fighter, because it allowed people to get to know the fighters, identify with their personalities and their wants and their needs and their desires, and then relate to them on a different level, and then drove them to watch UFC, and that was totally responsible for the big boom in UFC business. And I think that Tough Enough coming back is nothing but a positive for the wrestling business.
I mean, I had inspires of being a wrestler one day, but I can't really because I have a knee injury and I hurt my back a lot by playing softball. So, but that does sound like a positive for what you said. And I admire that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in.
You're welcome. All right. See you guys.
And Al, I was wondering about your background before wrestling, because you played the Shinobi character. You talk about judo in Japan. Do you have a martial arts background?
I have a black belt in Kempo Karate, and I have a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and I studied some Kung Fu, and did some trained for a short time in some in just regular boxing, and then did some extensive training in catch wrestling with a lot of the guys that were at that time when I broke into business were either hookers or shooters, and a hooker is a guy who does a lot of hook holds, catch wrestling, catch holds, and so I got schooled a lot in that when I first broke into business.
Are you a fan of the UFC?
I like UFC, and but I'm not motivated to watch it. I don't go out of my way to watch it or anything. But I do enjoy it if there's a good fight or something on once in a while. The occasions that I've gotten to see it, I've always enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we like to do this thing from time to time. We call it rapid fire questions. Just the first thing that pops into your mind. Are you game to do this with us?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Best wrestling moment ever.
Best wrestling moment ever for me?
For you?
For me, it probably, right off the top of my head would have to have been the Asbury Park, New Jersey ECW pay-per-view and the big entrance that I had coming to the ring.
All right. Best moment outside of the ring?
My kids being born.
What's in your CD player right now, or MP3?
Oh, wow. I've got all kinds of music, from big band music to Dean Martin to the Smiths to Led Zeppelin to Evanescence to Kiss to Van Halen to Parliament to Earth, Wind & Fire.
Nice. Most interesting character to share a drink with: Shinobi, Leaf Cassidy, Avatar, or Head?
I would have to say Head because of their multiple personalities and their panache for their own take on reality. Not to mention they're horrible drinkers because it goes right through them.
Favorite movie?
Off the top of my head, it'd have to be Hollywood Nights.
Great one.
Christmas Story, the absolute best movie ever. Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Rocky II.
I'm with you with Harlem Nights, one of my favorite of all time as well. If your good friend Mick Foley never made it as a pro wrestler, what would he be doing right now?
Probably Magic for the Blind.
Oh Lord.
How about your favorite professional wrestler currently?
My favorite professional wrestler currently would have to be me.
Nice. A question that I get a little tired of, but could Paul Heyman save TNA?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if TNA needs to be. What do they need to be saved from?
Fair enough. We'll leave it at that.
Are they from a shark? From drowning? A fire? I'm sorry, I didn't know they were in jeopardy.
Fair enough.
Apparently,
if you could beat one
the internet wrestling community thinks
who would
so.
it be and why?
Gosh, that'd be Salma Hayek. She is hot.
I'm sure we can all agree on that. And if someone was going to make a movie of your life, who would play you and your supporting cast of friends?
Oh, God. That would probably be Bill Murray would probably play me, and it would be the entire cast from the 1970s Saturday Night Live that would play my friends.
Nice. All right. Well, you are officially off of our rapid fire hot seat, and
great God, I was sweating like a whore in church. I'm tired.
And that's one thing I enjoy. I've got you on Facebook, and your comments, that your posts on there are hilarious. Got to say, I love them.
Oh, well, thank you. I have a tendency to just get bored and write stupid stuff on there and wait to see people's reactions.
Absolutely. Shane, our co-host, does that as well. So I have y'all 1 and 2 for your comment posts there.
Thank you.
Now, of course, I guess if anyone wants to take the advanced classes or get more information, they can find that on ovwrestling.com. But if they fans want to get more information about Al Snow, they just can't get enough. Do you have Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, website that they can go to?
Yeah, I have Facebook. I'm working on a website, but right now, if you want more information, either on Twitter, you can follow me at The Real Al Snow. Because, of course, as amazing as it may sound, there are those people that were dumb enough to actually be an imposter of me. Why? I have no idea, because if I were going to claim that I were somebody famous, I would pick somebody far higher up the food chain than myself. But, I'd be Neil Armstrong that actually had landed on the moon, or, Teddy Roosevelt or somebody, I don't know, but not Al Snow, for Christ's sake. Hell, I'd be Jesus. I'd be Jesus Christ. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. You're going to fake. You don't.
I think that one's taken out.
Well, I'm sure it is. I'm sure somebody else is already faking that. But and then you can go to the Real Al Snow Facebook / Real Al Snow 1, which is my regular page, or you can go to Real Al Snow 2, which is the fan page. Please understand that Facebook limits your number of friends on your regular page, and I have reached that limit quite some time ago of 5,000, and that's why I opened up the fan page for people who want to contact me. If you want to just send me a message on the regular page, feel free, and have a chance, I would be glad to respond to it. If not, just be bedazzled by my incredibly ridiculous wit and witticisms that I write on there on a regular basis. And if it offends you, well, then I've done my job. You can thank me later, because at least that way you now know that you have a line of decency that can be crossed.
I love it. And I lied. We've got one more question from the chat room where they asked any plans on writing a book or to make fun of Mick Foley.
Well, I think that nature has made fun of Mick Foley enough on its own. And as far as writing a book, I don't find myself that interesting, so I can't imagine anybody else would either. So,
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Al Snow. We hope to have you again in the future.
Well, thank you very much, guys, and I enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll get to come on again sometime.
All right. Al Snow, everybody.